Day, Bengals fans. Kick the show off here as Jake is at Mon's house and is going to be delayed to come in for us. Great victory. Great Bengals
Hey,
victory. There the guys are. Jake, kick it off.
hey, hey, Who Dey Bengal fans. He is Eric. He is Mon. I'm Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our victorious Cincinnati Bengals. Although, guys, a sloppy football game today. Just real quick, 26 penalties today. 14 by our Bengals, 12 by the Titans, well over 200 yards of penalties, and 10 turnovers. Ugly football game today. However, going on the road is not easy in the NFL, and the Bengals come out with a 37-27 victory, and that is what is important. Mon, real quick, initial thoughts on this football game.
Referees absolutely suck. This is like the worst officiating game I've seen all year. It was terrible. Terrible. It was a win. I'm happy. I'm never going to complain when the Bengals win. Wasn't pretty, though, but I'll take the win.
Eric, initial thoughts.
I mean, 37-27, but it was really 44-21. George Battle with the scream at your players mistake not scoring that touchdown, and then that late touchdown there in trash garbage time. So definitely, to me, it was a dominating Bengals victory that didn't feel like it because of all the sloppy play. We don't have the sloppy penalties.
Right.
We don't have the sloppy play. This could have easily been the 42-9 that I predicted, but we'll take it. You know, we got to win out. Every win counts. There was some thought to get Joe Burrow out of there in the fourth quarter. I think Joe Burrow said, "The heck with that. I'm going to feed my guys, and I'm not sitting down." So, good victory, one game at a time.
One game at a time. Let's go over the team stats first. We do have a lot to talk about in this game. Some stuff happened there at the end too. I want to talk about, but let's talk about real quick team stats for this game. The Bengals on third down today. 10 of 13. I think this might be the best third down conversion percentage for the Bengals all season. 5 of 8 for the Titans. Total plays right about the same. 64 for the Bengals, 65 for the Titans. 370 total yards for the Bengals, 374 for the Titans. Obviously, we talked about all the turnovers and everything already. Rushing, the Bengals outrushed the Titans 101-83, and we already talked about the turnovers. The Titans also led the Bengals in time of possession. Again, obviously the turnovers a big difference in this football game. Mon, let's go to you first. I want to ask you first about this Bengals defense and how they played today. What were your thoughts on the way the Bengals D played?
The only difference was the turnover, so it was refreshing to see that. It helped us out. We haven't had multi-turnover games like this, and I salute some good individual efforts there. But still, we saw the same trends we've seen from game one: missed tackles. Sometimes there's not enough physicality at the point of attack. I know Tennessee didn't have a lot of rushing yards, but still seemed like they did push us around a little bit, especially that first drive was ugly. We're just not physical enough on defense, and the missed tackles are absolutely just troubling. It really is. And there's some guys that we're depending on that are just whipping, and they just don't look athletic. I mean, I don't know what happened to Jermaine Pratt. He'll flash and have a great tackle for loss, but then he just doesn't look very fluid. Let's put it that way. This defense is going to have a massive makeover next year, but we still got 3 more games. It was nice to see some of those young defensive backs play well. DJ Ivey did well. I mean, he got called for that pass interference. It was so ticky-tack. Those referees were absolutely terrible. If you looked at a wide receiver the wrong way, they threw a flag on you.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Crazy. Eric, defense today was 6 turnovers. 2 fumble recoveries. You talked about the Jordan Battle, which for me as a coach, that is just – there's nothing more frustrating than watching somebody celebrating before scoring and fumbling the ball outside the back of the end zone. Obviously, hopefully Jordan learns from that. I'm sure he will. Geno Stone with a pick six, his first pick six as a Bengal for 39 yards. CTB with a pick. The rookie Josh Newton with a pick. Mike Hilton with a pick. So again, this Bengals defense out making plays. Talk about, Eric, real quick, the turnover craziness. Was this just the Bengals defense playing better football, or was this just really bad quarterback play from the Tennessee Titans? What are your thoughts?
Well, we've seen bad quarterback play this year. We've seen quarterbacks make mistakes. The difference is the Bengals haven't capitalized. We've seen a lot of dropped interceptions. We've seen multiple pick sixes that didn't happen this year because the guys didn't catch them when they hit it right in their hands. It felt like we wasted all of our luck in one game because they finally made these catches. They caught the ball. They made the returns when they needed them, but I'll take it. And we didn't even talk about the strip sack that Trey had that should have been a scoop and score. Every other game we see them let that play out because it's going to get automatically reviewed.
Eric,
not this time. They call it down.
The play before. Eric,
right.
we saw the play before, right? With Burrow's. I'm going to tell you right now, Burrow's forearm was on the ground. That was not a fumble. But they still let it play through. Yeah, you're right. They should have let it play through because if they did, Meta would have had a scoop and score.
Yeah. It's just crazy that all those things finally came together in this game. You'd like to see a more lockdown defense, but we know that that's not what we have. We don't have the guys to go out there and hold them to a bunch of 3 and outs. So what can you do to contrast that? You have to take the opportunities that are given to you. We saw Geno Stone finally read it right, make a play on that ball, and take it to the house. I mean, it's what we've been asking for all year. It's not too little, too late. We still have a chance, but you would like to get some of that earlier in the year.
And really, Mom, back to your point about Jermaine Pratt. I mean, we saw a stat today. He had 8 tackles today, and he's, as far as total tackles go, he's already broken his career mark. He's got, I think, 121 total tackles this season, which is a career high, but he's missed 60 tackles. I mean, this guy really should have 181 tackles. I'm being facetious, obviously, but it feels like he's missed that many. Pratt is just very inconsistent this year. And Mon, you were talking about it. Not to repeat ourselves here, but this is a serious issue for the Bengals in the future. Jermaine Pratt really just not looking like the same guy that we've seen in the past. Do the Bengals move on from Pratt after the season? What are your thoughts on that?
That's going to be a valid topic to talk about. I could potentially see that happening. I think there's going to be, Captain Obvious comment here, there's going to be a lot of changes to this defense. There has to be. At one point in this game, there was 3 rookies playing on a 4-man defensive front.
Yeah.
That's how this roster is constructed. And it's very uneven. And Pratt was signed to a nice contract. Nobody thought he was going to come back to Cincinnati. They brought him back. He played well for us. Wilson was signed to a nice contract. Pratt just has he just looks like he's gotten old really fast. He really has.
Yeah.
Does not look fluid out there. The athleticism on this defense is lacking a little bit. There's going to be a lot of changes. They came up with some opportunistic turnovers today. Luckily, Tennessee had one of their best offensive performances today against the Bengals. And, it's a little troublesome. It's an uneven game. I don't want to complain about a win, man. A win is a win, and we have faint playoff hopes. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But, man, I tell you what, we've got a lot of rebuilding to do on that side of the ball.
Well, let's look on the offense. Let's look at this offense because this offense is has just been unreal. Now, obviously, 3 turnovers today by the offense. Again, the fumble by Burrow. I don't think it was a fumble. Whatever. The second pick, basically throwing it up, trying to get Chase to make a play on the ball. It gets picked off. The first pick was not good. But Joe Burrow goes 26 of 37 for 271, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Was only sacked 1 time, and that was something we had talked about on our pregame show on Thursday. Was we were worried about this Titans defensive front, and they got to Burrow no doubt. But Burrow obviously using his feet, making some great plays out there. You talked about this roster being uneven, Mon. Let's talk about Devin Cochran having to come in and play this football game. I think he's only taken one snap total in his career in the NFL. Obviously, I thought he played well. There were times where obviously he looked like he has only played one snap in the NFL. But you and I talked about it, and you made a great point. I want to talk about it on the show, is that you said this roster is so uneven. Before the game kicked off, Mon looked at me. He goes, Jake, this roster is so uneven. We are starting Devin Cochran today. And I didn't even think about it that way, but it's so true, Mon. This offensive line is just in shambles right now, right? I mean, again, we only gave up one sack today. I understand that, but we're counting on Cody Ford. He gets scratched before the game, and now we have to watch Devin Cochran come in. Thank God Joe Burrow can move around a little bit, Mon. Your thoughts on this Bengals offensive line and these next 3 weeks, because this might be what we see the next 3 weeks.
And the Colts just scored, guys, on the Broncos, just to let you know that.
All right.
As I said about the defense, we're going to see a lot of changes to that offensive line coming next year. I'll say this about Cochran. I wasn't expecting much today. It's a tough assignment, playing a really good defensive front by the Titans. Their defensive linemen are grown men. He did okay. He started off rough. He looks the part. He's a big, imposing guy. He's not some skinny offensive lineman. He looked good. He had some flashes out there. You are right. They only gave up one sack, but guys, that's misleading. Joe was absolutely pummeled, hit a bunch of times. I know that's his style of play. I get it. He holds on to the ball. He really wants a play to develop down the field. Still, he got hit a bunch, but I think Cochran did all right.
Yeah,
I really do. I think our problems, we know what our problems are. It's Kappa and Volson. They're just not.
And Karras.
And well, Karras is the best of those three, and of the interior offensive line. But our guards are just not NFL quality right now. I mean, cold, hard facts. Yeah. Not being negative. That's the facts, and we have got to get better there.
And Brian, yes, we know that they've only beaten horrible teams, but that's their schedule. I mean, they have a last place schedule, and you have to win those. You have to win those horrible games. That's every NFL team. You could say that about every NFL team, but the fact of the matter is, that is the Bengals schedule, and that's what they have to play. So you got to win those games. We definitely don't want them losing those football games. The Bengals, Chase Brown runs for 25 carries, 97 yards with a touchdown, definitely putting his stamp as the guy in Cincinnati now at running back. Jamar Chase, again, continuing his record-breaking year, 9 catches, 94 yards, did not get a touchdown, looked a little frustrated after the game. We'll talk about that here in a couple minutes. T. Higgins, 5 catches for 88 and a touchdown. Gesicki, 3 catches for 37 yards. Chase Brown obviously had the touchdown catch as well. And Sam Hubbard, Mon, I don't know where you had saw that at, but Mon, after Sam Hubbard scored, said that was the first Bengal defensive player to score a touchdown since 69?
68. That's according to Hobson.
So Hobson said that, and that's obviously 68.
No, Jay Morrison said that.
Jay Morrison said that. Obviously, 68, the inaugural year for the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's been a while since a defensive player has scored a touchdown for the Bengals, and Sam Hubbard obviously
I was born that year
on offense. That means a defensive player scoring a touchdown on offense. You're saying
a defensive player scoring a touchdown on offense, absolutely. And he gets hurt on the play, right? Yep. He gets hurt on the play, and we see Lou Anarumo pissed off about it. Which again, whatever. Listen, I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but I was happy, and Mon and I had talked about this off air, that Myles Murphy was getting some really good reps and had a lot of good pressures today. Obviously, we don't want Sam hurt. We want Sam to be able to play football, but we also have been wanting Myles Murphy to see more of him, and he started to look the part a little bit. They actually was covering the tight end like 10 yards downfield as well. Eric, what are your thoughts on this Bengals offense? And again, not what they did today, but overall as a whole, the way this offense played today against a Titans defense that, the Bengals are expected to put up 400 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it with the final. It could have been a lot cleaner. There was a lot of sloppiness. I'm surprised to see Cam Grandy out there so much, especially when he's out there with so many false starts. I think he had 3 of them today. Um, you know, Joe Burrow doing Joe Burrow things, Jamar Chase doing Jamar Chase things. Jamar had another 9 catches, still leading in receptions. I was hoping he would get a touchdown to get inch closer to that all-time Bengals record. No touchdown today for him. He was very upset. I kind of feel like Joe Burrow did, though, going through some stuff on Twitter. There's some bad lip reading out there, but I think they're pretty good on this. Joe Burrow Zach Taylor looked like he was trying to talk him up afterwards, and Joe Burrow pretty clear that he's saying it's effing embarrassing, F that. So Joe Burrow's not happy with it. I don't think any of us should be happy with the offense performance. We scored a lot of points, but it easily should have been a 52-10 game because there was a lot of miscues on offense. And to someone's point earlier on, you go up against the Pittsburgh, you go up against Denver when we play them in a couple of weeks, and even Cleveland next week. That kind of offensive performance is going to shoot you in the foot. So they were lucky that the Titans were on the other side today. But even with that, the Titans are a really good defense. So got a little lucky that they weren't able to capitalize on the poor performance.
Second-ranked defense in the NFL. The Titans come in to this game.
Yeah.
The second-ranked defense in the NFL. Obviously, their offense is not good. But defensively, yes, they have been very good this year. Obviously, second-ranked defense, which we would take in Cincinnati in a heartbeat. Real quick, scores. The Colts are up 7-0 on Denver. Denver has the ball right now on their own 41-yard line. Buffalo up 7-0 on Detroit. And the Buccaneers up 7-0 on the Chargers. And the Eagles up 3-0 against Pittsburgh. Listen, guys, I want to talk about first before we get into the playoff picture right now. Let's talk about what happened on the sideline because Joe Burrow looked absolutely pissed. And I know, Eric, you had just said that some people were doing some bad lip reading. I'm really interested. I really want to know what's going on. So if anybody out there in our comments are watching the press conference, because I'm sure they're going to be asked about it, let us know in the comment section what you are hearing from Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor after the game because, Mon thought maybe it was because we scored at the end there, not trying to run it up, but, basically running up a little bit, or that's his thought, which I think that is a crazy thought to have if you're worried about running up on somebody. Their job is to stop you. Your job is to score. So I'm happy the Bengals scored there. Was it that? Was it, maybe Jamar not getting a touchdown? Was Jamar upset with Joe? Somebody had put that on Twitter that maybe Jamar had said something to Joe about, he wanted the ball or whatever. I don't know what it was, but there was definitely something going on there on the sideline. Mon, your thoughts on that? But before that, guys, please, if you are watching the press conference, let us know what is being said, if anything, about that situation. Mon, what are your thoughts on that?
I think he was frustrated potentially by all the penalties down there when they were driving. It was a sloppy game. I think he was embarrassed by it. I think he's still frustrated about the 2 INTs. I can tell you something. I'm not Joe Burrow. I'm just the co-host of the show. It's hard to blast the Bengals offense. We scored 37 points today. We scored 30 points multiple times, 30-plus points this season. Zach Taylor is probably the worst situational play caller in football. Ben, you brought up a great point earlier. 6 minutes left in the game. Run the ball. Let's get off the field. We don't want anybody hurt. 3 straight passes. It could have been 3 and out, and then they get the ball back with 10 minutes left, or down 10. It kills me with this guy. I know he tries to get too cute. Just run the ball and let's go home.
Yeah.
3 straight passes. And luckily, the drive continued. I just can't figure this guy out at times. Yes, I know his offense is phenomenal. It's phenomenal because of Joe and Chase, amazing individual efforts this year. it's maddening sometimes seeing this and seeing what happens. But yeah, Joe was pissed off about something. We're probably not going to really find out what's going on with that. Obviously, they're going to say, hey,
Yeah, Brian just put on there. That's why I was trying to scroll back. Brian just put on there that Zach said it's the normal back and forth. I mean, what kind of answer is that? That was not normal. I don't know if you saw it on there, but Brian in the comments said that Zach said something about, oh, that's just normal back and forth. Go ahead, Mom.
No, it's just it was just frustrating. It's you get battered on social media when you talk bad about Zach Taylor because everybody just looks at the points scored and their flashy offense. I get it. They've done really well, but they could do a lot better. I think he's a horrible situational play caller. I really do. And he is the head coach of the team, not the head coach of the offense. So we'll see, man. It'd be interesting if somebody can crack the code and find out why Burrow was upset. Obviously, I think it was the sloppiness of the game because I tell you, that last drive was ugly.
Yeah, I think I kind of think the same thing. I think maybe that's why Zach Taylor, you could kind of read lips a little bit. Zach Taylor said something like, we got the W, and then Joe was like, well, F that. We look like trash, basically.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to say one last thing. I'm sorry I was rambling there, but I mentioned it on the last show. We had a 14-point lead against the Ravens. We had in the second game. The first game, we had 3 10-point leads. Yep. This is late in the game. It's perfect opportunity where a team can come in, just chew up the clock, and, just put the game away. The Bengals can't do that because their running game is a short passing game. Guess what? You're susceptible to quarterback hits, sacks, fumbles, strip sacks. I just wish that we could morph into a little bit better, more consistent running team. We ran the ball great today. I get it. But we need to be able to put games away late, when we're up late in the game. And I don't think this team can do that. I don't think they can.
Yeah, I don't either. And Mark just wrote on here, this is a good thought on the thing too. The delay of game call that happened down at the 1 was on Zach Taylor, and he's saying maybe he changed out of a play or something, and Joe Burrow didn't like that. So that's a good point too, Mark. Very interesting. That definitely was not a normal back and forth, though. I will tell you that we have not seen Joe Burrow as heated as that in a while. Obviously, we've seen a lot of frustration, and he's had a rough week too. I mean, this could be just all something that's kind of happened all boiling up at one point. But the important thing is, obviously, the Bengals get the win. I know we're like playoffs, but listen, there is still a chance. And today with the Texans beating the Dolphins, guys, there's a very serious chance. We needed that to happen for us to even be talking about the playoffs, and it happened. So, obviously the Colts-Denver game, people are kind of split on this, Eric, on who we want to win this football game, because Mod made a good point earlier too. Obviously, the Broncos finished with the Chiefs, and if the Chiefs already get that first round bye, then obviously that's a game we don't want to count on for the Broncos and the
Did
Chiefs.
Mod steal my text? I texted that to the group the other day. I argue that
interception. Bo Nix just threw an interception. Colts.
I think we need to be rooting for the Colts today, because I don't think the Chiefs, especially Mahomes, just that another scary injury for Mahomes, limping around. Some people say he plays those up, but they've only got one loss. They're pretty close to a 2-game lead on that number 1 seed. I don't think that the Chiefs are playing their starters in that final game. And then if you tell them that the Bengals are if you win, the Bengals get into the playoffs, they ain't playing their starters. Andy Reid might not even show up for that game if that's the case, because they don't want to see the Bengals. So yes, we have to win out, but I think we need the Colts to win today, and then we need some help from some of those Jaguars and the Giants, some of those teams that aren't really playing for anything, need to step up and help us out.
Yeah, I think it's the Titans, Jags, and Giants. Oh boy. Boy, oh my. So we'll see. We'll see how that pans out, because the Jaguars are absolutely awful. Maybe Callie, maybe it comes down to that last week and Callie can help us out. But listen, Bengals do have a chance. I think we're all on the same page here. We want the Colts to win this football game today. And Mon also made another good point. Don't know if he stole this one from you too, Eric.
Check the receipts.
But Mon did say, as hard as it is, that we really need the Steelers to keep winning too, and that puts pressure on the Chiefs, which is true, 100% true. Which it's so hard. I don't know if I can root for the Steelers, but it is a very true statement. And I know, listen, guys, I know some of you guys are already on to the next season, but listen, I want us to make the playoffs. I want to watch the Bengals another week. That's the fan in me. I know some of you, we talked about this on our show last week. I know some of you are kind of broken on the, we want the Bengals to lose so we get this better pick and maybe the coaches get fired, Mon, but that's all that stuff doesn't always happen. You're a Bengals make the playoffs, right, Mon?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people are in draft mode already. I'm not gonna lie to you, I sort of am too. But I'll never root against this team ever, ever, ever. And I think wins are very important. And
yes,
there's still hope. There's still hope there. And I'm sorry, that's just the way I'm wired. I get both sides of the argument. I can't root against this team. I can't do it. When they had to lose that game against the Dolphins to get Joe Burrow, the game was so wacky and so crazy. I wanted them to win that game, knowing it would have cost us Burrow, but still it was so exciting. And they lost. But I'll never root against that team.
Well, let's talk about this too, guys, because I think this is worth mentioning. Is what this season to me is just absolutely insane. Obviously, the Joe Burrow and the Jamar Chase stuff, and how great of a year they're having. The Bengals now go to 5-3 on the road. They are 1-5 at home, which is, to me, is just insane, right, Mon? I mean, this this team has literally flipped the script on almost every situational football. I don't know, having the best quarterback, having the best receiver, scoring all these points every game, and you're 5-8, and now you're 1-5 at home. You're 5-3. It doesn't make sense, does it, Mon? It makes no sense.
Here's another stat for you. Joe Burrow has now had 6 straight games with 250 plus passing yards and 3 plus touchdown passes. The only other quarterback to ever do that was Tom Brady.
I mean, listen. Joe Burrow, if he is not in the MVP discussion, I was going to say if he's not the MVP, I'll say if he's not in the MVP discussion, it is a travesty for the NFL to not recognize the kind of year that Joe Burrow is having. All right, Mon, before we get out of here, let's talk about this team in the next 3 weeks. Obviously, coming up next, you have the Cleveland Browns in Cincinnati, a team that the Bengals obviously have struggled with, but we know that the Browns are not very good. Jameis Winston got benched today, so we're not sure who's going to start that football game. But, Mon, your thoughts, let's just go 1 week at a time here. Your thoughts against the Browns and this Bengals team that's kind of being put together. What are our chances next week against the Browns?
We're definitely going to be favored, but you mentioned it, 1-5 at home. We're not haven't been good at Paycor this year. Situational matchups, it's horrible for the Bengals. Cochran's going to be going against Myles Garrett, the defensive line for the Browns. The Browns are formidable. I know they've been up and down. We have no business losing the game, but we could, and it's just a bad matchup for us. The Bengals are going to win. They can't go 1-6 at Paycor. It's a game they should win, and they have no business losing, and I think they will.
You think they will win?
Yes.
Eric, your thoughts? This upcoming game against Cleveland, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we have to win out. I think that the Browns are down and out. I'd argue that we haven't been good enough at home. There hasn't been any games where we've really gotten dominated outside of the Eagles game. Ravens, that overtime thriller. Most of these games, if the Steelers came down to one score, we just haven't been good enough, which when you play at home, the home crowd is typically that edge. They typically get you over that hump. But it just hasn't happened yet this year. So we really needed to happen this weekend. Yeah, this next weekend it's going to be Stripe the Jungle. Would have looked amazing on a primetime game. They took that away from us. So we'll see how Stripe the Jungle looks when people are out there in the daytime. But they got to be good enough. They got to be good enough, and it has to be. They have to get up early. We don't need it to come down to a one-score game.
Joe's talking right now, guys, live. Obviously, we're not listening to it. If you have any nuggets, post it for us.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section. Again, very interested. Obviously, a lot of stuff has gone on this week between, with the T. Higgins stuff and obviously the Joe Burrow stuff and everything else that's been going on. I do think, and I know the Titans are not a good football team. Mark said Joe Burrow's press conference is coming up. I know the Titans are not a good football team, but with all of this distraction going on right now, for the Bengals to go on the road and win a football game on the road in the NFL, it's not easy to do. I think that's something that we need to look at, right, Mon? I mean, going against the number 2 defense in the NFL, yes, their offense is not good, but this was a good win by the Bengals, was it not? I mean, I know it was sloppy, but I'm talking about the win as a whole is a good win.
A double-digit win on the road, you'll never apologize for that. It's hard to win on the road. I don't care how bad the team is that you played. I'm never going to apologize for a victory. Yeah, I mean, I'm frustrated like Joe Burrow. It was sloppy. I mean, there were some things that need to get cleaned up. There's just mistakes being made that you shouldn't make this late into the season. It looked like a preseason game. It looked like a week 2 preseason game. Grandy kept on false starts. And, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. It's maddening. And I know I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we have so many exciting elite NFL players that should win big-time postseason awards. We have 3 or 4 guys that are arguably bottom 5 in the NFL, and they're starters. It shows you how the greatness of 3 players cannot make up for the poor roster construction of 4 or 5 positions where they're bottom 5 in the NFL.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that's something that, the Bengals, no matter what happens this season, even if they go 9-8 and they go to the playoffs, all that, this team has got to reboot pretty much, right? I mean, that's what you're saying.
You need more production. I'm not here to knock on Rankins. Rankins is sick. I hear it's serious.
What is going on with that?
I hope whatever is wrong with him, he gets better, praying for him. But before he was sick, he was bottom 5 per PFF at his position. Hubbard was bottom 5-10 at his position, playing a majority of the snaps at defensive end. Geno Stone and Bell were bottom 10. I know Stone's turned it around, had a great play today. Great, interception return for a touchdown. But those are 4 spots in your defense out of 11 that are easily bottom 5-10 in the NFL. That's the reason we're in continual shootouts. That's why we're 1-5 at home. And our guards, PFF isn't for everybody, but it's pretty reputable and respected.
Yes, it is.
Our guards are rated bottom 5 in football. I can't believe that our offense is as potent as it is. We need to get better at those spots.
I mean, I think that shows you how good Joe Burrow is, right, guys? I mean, when you look at how bad the interior of the offensive line has played this year, I mean, that just shows you how good Joe Burrow is. And people were worried about the knee and all this stuff. He looked pretty mobile today, Eric.
Yeah, well, and that's a testament to Joe. He's definitely realized that he has to be moving a lot more. Our tackles are good. Even our backup tackles have been good. You see him dropping back, stepping up, stepping through those holes, stepping through that chaos. And most of our explosive plays have come on those improvised plays where he's scrambling and people are doing the scramble drill. So testament to Joe for being able to use his mobility like that, especially with the banged up knee from last week. The one thing I want to give a shout out, these are not home games, but these Bengals fans travel well, especially to Tennessee. And it's one of the greatest things to have T. Higgins out there as soon as he catches the ball to hear the stadium erupt with the T chants. It's like a home game when you go play in Tennessee, the amount of Bengals fans that there. So shout out to all those that traveled to the game. We do have one of our first quotes from a beat reporter, Olivia Ray, at Joe Burrow's press conference. He said, Joe Burrow on the roller coaster that was 15 for 26 penalties, 10 turnovers. He said too many self-inflicted wounds, shouldn't have thrown those interceptions. So he looks kind of dejected. Really looks like a Joe Burrow after a loss. And I think that's what we all love about him is, you win the game by double digits, but he's pissed off. And I think most of us appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say, their backs are against the wall. Slim playoff hopes. You need to come out. You need to be perfect. I mean, you can't have all those penalties. You can't have all those mental mistakes.
Yeah.
You have to be dialed in. You have to put in that extra 20, 30 minutes studying. You got to put in extra 20, 30 minutes on the practice field. I mean, honestly, you have to be perfect because you're fighting for your playoff hopes. And I get his frustration because some of these guys probably aren't. I hate it. I mean, look at the Titans. Will Levis was one of the Bengals' best players today. He's laughing on the sideline when he got benched. He's joking around with other players. I mean, if I was on that team, I'd freaking throat chop the guy. You can't be that way.
Well, and you have to think about it.
Right.
We are in playoff football right now. We have to win every game, just like you're in the playoffs. So this is never going to win you a playoff game. You're lucky that that other team has a first-year coach and isn't as put together because, you could easily drop that game and then your season's over. So they have to be perfect from now on out. You have to win these games.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, some scoring updates. Colts kick a field goal. They are up 10-0 on the Broncos. Bills up 14-0 over the Lions. Steelers and Eagles tied at 3.
Jonah Williams just scored a touchdown. Am I reading that right?
I don't know, but they did just score. So that's a very possible. That's a very if you're telling me Sam Hubbard and Jonah Williams both scored an offensive touchdown the same day, I don't think anybody had that on our bingo card.
Yeah, who's got that on their parlay? Just going cash in.
Let's go. Let's see. We got to find out. There's no way Jonah Williams scored a touchdown.
He did. Pick 6 alert. Mike Golick Jr. just posted it.
Did he really just score a touchdown?
Yeah, a pick 6.
Wow, Jonah Williams. Well, I guess all of his fans in Bengaldom are going to say, "See, we should have got them."
He's better than Mims. Jake would never say that, though.
Let's take a victory lap. Hey.
He did. He had a recovered fumble for a touchdown. Jonah Williams doing his thing. So Indy up 10-0, Buffalo up 14-0. Tampa and Chargers 7-7 with Tampa 3rd and goal from the Chargers. It just went 4th and goal from the Chargers 4. And as I said, Pittsburgh and Philly tied at 3. So
let's go to the next game. You said we're at the Browns, right?
So we got the Browns out of the way. We know how what the Browns are going to look like. A team the Bengals have struggled with. They got to play better against this football team. And then after the Browns, guys, it is the Denver Broncos. And the Denver Broncos, obviously a team right now that is one of those teams in the Bengals' way. It is in Cincinnati. Mon, your thoughts on Bengals Broncos and that matchup?
It's going to be a tough one. They're good. Bo Nix is playing really well. I know they're losing today 10-0. He looks like a legit NFL player. Sean Payton is a great coach. He's got that team turned around. It's not going to be easy. No business losing at home. No business losing. That's a must-win game. And I think I like the chances of the Bengals in that game. I really do.
Eric, what are your thoughts? Broncos coming up.
I mean, we got to win them all. There's such a good defense, but we got Joe Burrow, we got Jamar Chase. It's at home. There's a very good chance that game gets moved to Saturday, the 28th. They haven't scheduled the games yet. So we could be looking at a primetime matchup. We could be at 4:30. We could be at 8 o'clock. We can't overlook the Browns. We got to beat the Browns first, but that's going to be the big matchup. And then we could be looking at, our final game against the Steelers. The Steelers might not have anything to play for. So we might not see some of those defensive starters that maybe we would normally see. So it's all there in front of us. I'm saying we have a chance. And what have we been screaming all year for? We've been screaming for Miles Murphy to get more playing time. Well, Sam Hubbard getting injured, that's not the way we want to see it. But, Lou being stubborn, we might finally get to see Miles Murphy out there. And he had one of the highest pressure rates today of any defender out there. So,
yeah. And again, that's a game. I think, when the Bengals, we'll say when the Bengals win next week against the Browns, I really think that I think that Bengals Broncos game is going to be a Saturday game. I think it's going to get moved to a Saturday game, and obviously, if they win that Steeler game, going to be very interesting, guys. Let's talk about the Steeler game in Pittsburgh. Obviously, Pittsburgh right now winning the division, but it looks like they're going to have to play for something. It looks like the Ravens are hot on their tail. So, Mon, your thoughts on that game? Bengals at Pittsburgh to end the season.
Yeah, we just mentioned earlier about we're trying to do a Rubik's Cube and figure things out. We want that last game of the season where the Chiefs have to play hard so they can beat the Broncos. And then, of course, if that happens, the Steelers have to play hard also to potentially get a first-round bye. Looks like the Bills might be a problem there. If the Steelers can rest their starters, that would help us out if it's a must-win for us. But at the same time, it might be one of those situations where they have to play their starters. That Steeler game in Cincinnati was frustrating, but we put up a lot of points on that defense. And, I'll take Joe Burrow any day in a must-win.
So
go ahead, Eric.
Well, I mean, we could realistically, it's got to fall right with the Bills as well, but we could realistically see a very similar situation that we saw in 2022, where we played the Ravens the final game of the season, and then we played them the next week. We could potentially play the Steelers and then come back to play the Steelers again in Pittsburgh in the playoffs, should we be lucky enough to get in. That would be something else, three matchups against one team in a year. It is rare in itself, but then to do it in, just a couple of years twice is crazy.
Well, it worked out for us good the first time. So maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need that kind of magic for back-to-back games against the Steelers. And, listen, as a fan, I think no matter what, if we are playing an important game that final week of the season, if we're playing for something, that's all I want. Right, as a fan, that's all I'm asking for is just make that Steeler game. That is a game that we are playing for something, Mon.
I cracked the code just now. I figured it out. We need the Bills to win today. Need the Bills to win. They beat the Chiefs already. So if they go into the final week of the season with 2 losses, Bills have 2 losses, right? Three.
Three
losses. Okay. It could come down to the Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs might have to play all their starters the last week of the season because they already have a loss to the Bills. So they can't finish tied. They have to be 1 game ahead of them. Right now, they're 2 games ahead of them. So we'll see. I think the Chiefs are leaking oil. They might have to lose 1 of their next 3 games. If that happens, I think they'll play their starters last week of the season, and that can be trouble for the Broncos. I hate talking about this. We're depending so much on other teams.
Yeah.
All we should really focus on is beat the Browns next week, and then we'll worry about the Broncos the week after. But one time in my life, in Zach Taylor's coaching career, start winning early in the season so we don't have to scoreboard watch.
I know.
Every game matters. Every game matters. We told Elise Jesse, we said country club training camps ruin this team.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to go out. You have to hit. You have to be you need to have a tougher training camp, man. This is 6 years, and they started off poorly every season he's been head coach.
And it's at least we aren't I'd rather be talking about very hard to achieve playoff scenarios than talking about what left guard we're going to get in the draft and what right guard we're going to get in the draft with 4 weeks left.
That's a fair point. But at the same time, this team has a generational quarterback.
Yes.
We shouldn't be scoreboard watching. We should never have a defense that's this bad. You know what? I'll say this, and I know it sounds like I'm being a smart butt. If the Bengals had a bad defense, we'd have 5 more wins.
Yeah.
I don't think our defense has been bad. I think it's been atrocious, which is worse than bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
If we had a mediocre to bad defense, we'd have 4 to 5 more wins.
I agree. And just so you know, Mon, it's better to be a smart butt than a dumb one.
I know. I didn't say act. I'm sorry.
Listen, hey, the Detroit Lions just scored. So that Bills game we were just talking about, it's 14-7 now. Buffalo up on the Lions. The Eagles just scored. They are up 10-3 on the Steelers. Tampa did end up getting a field goal. They are up 10-7 on the Chargers. And the Colts stop Denver again and get the ball back. They are pinned deep, but they have the ball right now and are up 10-0 on the Denver Broncos, Mom.
Eric,
I mean,
we're better than the Red Zone channel. What we're doing right now,
We really are.
guys. Starting next week, it's $10 a person to get this.
oh, okay. Yeah. Hey,
every 100th person gets a free jersey.
there's also a world where the Chargers lose out and we get in. So there's multiple chances here.
Listen. I agree. I agree with CC. Losing that Patriots game, man, oh man, good Lord, what a terrible loss at home.
What a bad Oman.
Oh yeah, what a bad. But man, what a bad loss at home. Again, you said it, Mon. I mean, Zach can do all this stuff every year. Oh, it's okay. This is not us, and you know how we do it. We always come back. Man, those early losses. This is the year that they're going to come back to haunt us more than any. Losing those first couple games, actually, first three games this year. 0-3. I mean, to start 0-3 is almost impossible to recover from that. So we'll see if the Bengals can do that, Mon.
Yeah, I just for the record, I know there's a lot of people out there that love Coach Taylor. It's not personal. He's going to be the coach next year. I'm not calling for him to get fired. I just hope he lives and learns from some of these mistakes because he's had them. His coaching staff has had them. And we just can't give him a free pass because Joe Burrow's having a career year. Jamar Chase could be Offensive Player of the Year. It's these two guys have carried the team. And they've had to be perfect, basically.
Yeah.
Superhuman, Superman to get us where we're at. And Zach Taylor's a very influential person in Paycor. He needs to go up and talk to the Browns and Blackburns and say, hey, I can't operate this way. I need this coach. I need this. I need that. They need to fix these problems. And I don't want to talk about this stuff next year. I don't want a scoreboard watch. I want to talk about being the number 1 seed in the playoffs.
Agree. Real quick, let's throw up that super chat, Eric, before we get out of here. Thank you, KP from KC. We appreciate it. Yes, I it's so funny, KP, that you said that because today during the game, I was telling Mon, I'd heard somewhere, I can't remember where it was, somebody was making the comment of the Chiefs are the worst one loss team in NFL history, and the Bengals are the best 5-8 team in NFL history. They were 5-8 at the time. So yes, they are, but unfortunately, the playoffs, they don't go by how good of a team you are. They go by your record. And right now the Bengals are sitting at 6-8. Again, not where we wanted to be, but it will be interesting to see if the Bengals can win these next two. And it comes down to that Steeler week. It's going to be a very interesting wrap up to this season, Mon.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, for all the heartache and frustration, you just got to love football. I love this team. I love the sport of football. And I just it's fun, even though it's frustrating and it drives you crazy. And I got gray hair and I take more blood pressure pills. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, listen, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. We're gonna have a lot to talk about this week. Getting ready for the Cleveland Browns game. Going to be interesting to see. Obviously, I'm interested to see what those press conferences look like on Monday after Joe Burrow has cooled off a little bit. What he has to say about that, and Zach Taylor as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this upcoming week goes. But again, guys, before we get out of here, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Jumping on here, we appreciate it. Again, it's it's a sloppy win, I guess you would say, a sloppy win, but it is a win, guys. It is a win, and we are still. It's slim, but you're saying there's a chance, right? There's a chance.
Greatest story ever told. Greatest
Right.
story
We're
ever
3 weeks
told.
left.
Unfolding
We're
before
still
your
talking
eyes.
about the playoffs.
I gotta say one thing real quick. I'm just looking. We have almost 300 people watching us live. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. Some losses this year. We've had 1,400 people watching live. Losing is good for business, but I would much rather just have 277 in the room instead of 14.
Yes.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
crazy.
But that one, I think it was a Steeler loss. We had almost 1,500 people.
Misery loves
watch,
company.
and we appreciate the support. Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much. You're the best.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate that, and we'll be back here live next week, and getting ready for the Bengals Browns matchup. We'll talk a little bit more about, we'll see what the playoff picture looks like then, and obviously talk a little bit about the exchange between Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. Hopefully, we know a little bit more about that. But as always, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. We'd very much appreciate that. As always, guys, follow Mon on Twitter at @TheFireMon. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Cincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter at CincinnatiPod. And follow us, please, on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. The same on Instagram without the @Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, guys, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. He is Eric. He is Mon. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We will see you next week.